Good afternoon, classmates and Sir Bong. I will be reporting mission and evangelization, beginning of the Catholic Church, but I will start this narrative from 1494 to 1885. Disclaimer, this is a topic for educational purposes only. The information here is based on the resources from the reference where I read. Thus, also, in additional on my interpretation as a student. So there are no ill will on a personal faith. Now, these are the references. Now, let's start on 1494, June 7, the New World. Pope Alexander VI decreed the people of the New World should be educated in Christian faith. Thus, in 1513, the Spanish drafted a document called the Requerimiento, or the requirements. The requirements of the expedition to have Christian dogma, thus Christianize the natives to be the subjects. Acknowledgement of the Christian Church, the Pope, Spanish monarchs, the lords, allowing the Spaniards or the priests to gospel and preach. Excuse me. Now, in 1521, March 21st, according to Pigafetta, they landed on Visayan area where they made the Easter Mass. Thus gathered 50 men were gathered and have a small mass. April 14, 1521, again by Pigafetta, they baptized, 500 men were baptized. One of them is Humabon, who became Don Carlo. And one is became Reina Juana. According to Michael Charleston Xiao Chua, that Reina Juana saw the Santo Niño where Magellan is holding, and she thought it was an ananito. Thus, he asked Magellan if she could have it. Thus, then Magellan gave it to her. As there said that that's the starting where she became Christianized. And on the other hand, according again to Michael Charleston Xiao Chua, Raha Humabon and Magellan were talking as Magellan told them that baptizing to be a Catholic, they will ally with the powerful kingdom of Spain. Thus, Humabon agreed, as it was one of the sayings. Now, a week after, April 26, 1521, Spaniards landed on Mactan, where they see Lapu-Lapu. But Lapu-Lapu don't want to bow to Spain. Magellan and his 60 men sailed to the shores. 3 hours before dawn, messenger send a message to the natives. Obey the King of Spain. Recognize Christianity, so we will be friends. But the natives replied with a sharp bamboo lance. Spaniards waited until morning to attack. Morning came. 49 Spaniards leaped onto the water. 11 remained to guard the boats. Natives saw them as they charged towards the Spaniards. Magellan ordered 2 divisions of musketeers and crossbowmen, firing their muskets and crossbow, piercing through the wooden shields of the natives. Magellan saw it and thus commanded to cease fire. But the musketeers did not heed. The natives waited, for the musketeers are out of ammo. Thus, they surround them and attack them by all fronts. That's which leads Magellan's death. There, the Spaniards retreated their quest for Christianizing Visayas. Now, we time travel to 1585, where where the Jesuits landed on Recodo in Mindanao. It's here in Zamboanga area. But Recodo is in the past called the La Caldera. It's landed by Diego del Rosario. No, but the expedition start from there, but they going north, going to the Pitan area, where Pedro Gutierrez, another one, and Father Pedro Teles opened a mission to Tungawan, Sibugay for the Subanons. Now, in 1596, another batch of Jesuits landed in Zamboanga, which is Zamboanga City. The mission is to evangelize and educate. As Melchor de Vera, S.J., Society of Jesus, build an outpost. The purpose is to bring the religious activity within the walls. The plan of study is Ratio Stadiorum. Ratio Atone Institutio Stadium Society Jesuits, a method system of studies of the Society of Jesus. In 1650, we go there as where there's trouble. 1650, January 25, Juan del Campo and Gregorio Araneta left Shokan, which is under Zamboanga's jurisdiction that time, where Father del Campo wanted to survey his mission work to evangelize the Subanan tribe. Upon surveying, some of the Subanans took offense by the survey, as Subanan rebelled, killing Juan del Campo, Acosta, and the others. From there, the Spaniards attack and destroy the property afterwards. Now, in the year 1768, the resistance of the Subanen were still on the Jesuits, which lead to some small confrontations, some few skirmishes. But what leads to the challenges of the Jesuits is the King of Spain expelled them, thus led the Augustinian to evangelize the Philippines. But there are, from the notes, what I read, there are none. So maybe we can search this on the Augustinian letters if they have. 1860, the return of the Jesuits, where some also landed on on Tetuan. Some also came back, as one is expanding to the on the northern part, as Father Francisco Piola works the conversion of the Subanan people in Dipolog. How Father Francisco Piola treat them is kind of like how they call it in page 22, said these people were uncivilized. As Piola perception of the Subanans, as see the mass and Christian stuff, how he see is like the perception that Father Priola is foolish to intervene. It's like somebody who's talking just in front, as the Subanan didn't understand what Father Piola was preaching. There, upon the conversion, Tumpilo wanted to be converted to Christian, but his his purpose is just to murder Father Paiola. Tumpilo and his men informed Piola that they wanted to convert as Christian, as the priest, Father Piola, set as his, but he saw a dagger as the Father Piola ran. The frightened priest has stopped, as the frightened priest got cornered as they stabbed him. Now other priests heard that news. The missionary activity stopped again. Now, in the later years, there are rare conversion from that area until 1883. 1883, where another missionary were stopped into barrio of Lama Lama. Malama, which is currently Tetuan. 1883, a sermon of catechism was taught regularly at Tetuan Mass, Sunday 8 a.m. and then at 5:30 in the evening, as the church bell invited people on the Lenten to introduce Ignatian spiritual exercise, some mission talks, the teaching of heaven and hell, resurrection and judgment, to encourage them to fulfill the Christian obligation, also warning them of the broken marriage. Now, on November 1880, a feast which attended 150 or more men to purify their conscience. Also, there are penance. The principal feast is blessed by Virgin Mary, and then novena gathered for the souls in the purgatory. As Juan Carreras observed, the Indios have strong devotion as the altar candle flowered. So here is that some of the natives Indios in Tetuan were fascinated by the ceremonies they are doing. So it's more easier to evangelize in that area. Now, April 27, that's in Ayala area, where This is on the west coast where another another batch of missionaries land, where they saw Christians, Moros, and the Subanen. Now here is where Estanislao March described the Subanen and their culture. As he said that they have no legal code, they do polygamy, and makes voice, and they pray to the Diwata as their, which how it's Stanislaw March described them as kind of like it discriminating, as if I read the passage, the letters there. August 1882. Now in August, there are plagues who happens in Tetuan. What the cholera attacks were 50 people, and then some of the priests also got on that cholera, as which is some priests died from that cholera, which another got halt from their evangelization. November 11, 1882, flood in Tetuan, which stopped the novena. But they also converted a Chinese man named Federico in September. Again, which is the flood, which halt the novena, which made the evangelization bit harder. Now in February 1883, another missionaries led a crusade. I mean, sorry, I led a novena from from last Las Mercedes, walking to Bolong, then to Curuan. Well, this is on the east coast part. But how the natives see them, how they see the natives is kind of like they were shocked to see a priest, as only few of them, there were not much in attendees on the novenas. 1883. This is on Ayala area. They converted some Moros. Now, one of the Moros became named Pedro Maila. But the problem is the aunt didn't agree, as she picked up the kris and rotten whip. The two men escaped, and the women stated that she wanted also to become a Christian. Then 32 others. Another Moro of Recodo, or the La Caldero, told his wife she also wanted to be a Christian. Now the conversion here started to grow, a growing of the conversion. 1884. From there, Stanislaw March believed that they got a chance to convert the natives, also the Moros, to Christian. Now, as the frequent mass happens, this is on Recodo area, Ayala area, I mean, August 10. The observance of the observance, how they observe the Subanans there. They are trying to observe the Subanen on the area. How could they evangelize the Indios, the natives? Now, after that, October 30, which led 300 to 400 pagan Subanon to a shelter, which they appeared in Ayala, seeking protection from the Moro pirates. Stanislaw March received them, also offering gifts. Sta- Stanislaw Stanislaw March, that's decided to study their vocabulary, also befriend to the Tankilin, which is the priest. And then the priest started to study them, how they work, befriend with them as November 1885. They 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 made a catechism. They converted the Subanans there. Stanislaw March also began to know them personally and tried to change the perspective of the superstition which the Subanans have about the Iwata and others, as Stanislaw March baptized 26-year-old women, a son, then only few were resisted. But until the end, the resistant, they also converted to Christianity as Stanislaw March baptized them, and until there I that's the end of the narrative which I read. Now this is the first one of the missionaries here, Jesuit missionaries, and then this is the first how they convert to the first priests and with the Jesuit missionaries. Now, some of the recommendation I did is the ethics on evangelization by the Spanish to the pre-colonial Philippines. Now, the ethics, I like to say it's the use of ethical, is this by imposing them, only them, there are so many ethical consideration as some by the Chinese, how they convert to Catholicism is because of the privileges. If you don't have this, you won't be able to travel, as one of the book I read said that it happened in Luzon. So I like to one of the studies, this is a good study, is it ethical for the evangelization of the Spanish and pre-colonial to the Philippines? Now, second is the influence of the church in the current educational system. Philippines is the only one Catholic or the Christian country in Southeast Asia. But we also have lack in uh, educational system the likes of the Western. They all uh, the Western histories like they learn about the cultures of the pre-colonial itself. But on our educational system, it's hard to find out the learnings of the history pre Spanish period, the likes how do they worship the Anito, how what are the rituals they have. which is kind of bit intriguing, other than if I say on the educational system. As you see, also in culture, we can say is the influence of the church on the Filipino culture itself. Uh, if you see how animes do, they sometimes they do on the history of their own lore, the like the folklores the of the Japanese folklores. But how come our Philippines we still struggle on making this happen? Is there something, that we barrier who keep blocking us finding this out, which is another good study. Now, another thing is the interfaith and dialogue. This is one of the great one of one should one good study. Uh, Jeffrey Freeman, I got from this 2005 his master thesis, which he mentioned an interfaith, how they made an interfaith, which gathered all the faiths into one circle, and then said in some introduction about what's the faith. One is Christian, Jews, Muslim, and then the indigenous tribes. They all shared. They got 2 hours to 3 hours sharing of their faith, and then after that they all mingle each other and welcome the teachings, also welcome the rituals itself, which is one of the good ideas. So how can we do an interfaith on the indigenous tribes? So not only that the Catholics can learn, but also we can learn, see both sides of the story, both sides of the world. How can you say? So that's all on my report. This is the last of the reference, and thank you. Thank you. Hope